Today, we're exploring something different, disappearances that ended not in darkness, but in answers. 6 incredible stories where the lost came home. Let's begin. Case 1. Jayme Clouse, the girl who refused to stay hidden, October 15, 2018. Barron, Wisconsin. 13-year-old Jayme Clouse was home when their doorbell rang just before 1 a.m. Her father went to answer. He never got the chance. Jake Thomas Patterson kicked down the door and shot James in the head. James' mother tried hiding her daughter in the bathroom, pulling her into the bathtub. Patterson found them within seconds. He bound Jayme with duct tape, shot her mother as she begged for her daughter's life, and drove into the night. For 88 days, Jayme lived in hell. Patterson had randomly chosen her after seeing her on a school bus. No connection, no vendetta, just sick obsession. His cabin became her prison. When visitors came, he forced her under his bed for hours, trapped by heavy bins and weights stacked around her. No food, no water, no bathroom, just darkness, the sound of footsteps above, and the terror of discovery. But Jayme refused to break. She studied Patterson's patterns, waited for her moment. On January 10, 2019, when Patterson left to visit his mother, she saw her chance. She pushed the bins aside with every ounce of strength and ran barefoot into the freezing Wisconsin winter, her feet bleeding on the ice and snow. A neighbor walking her dog saw a terrified girl running toward her, screaming, "I'm Jayme Clouse. He killed my parents. Please help me." The neighbor recognized her instantly from the missing posters that had haunted the state. Within minutes, police arrested Patterson. He confessed immediately, showing no remorse. Jayme's escape wasn't luck. It was pure courage, the refusal of a child to let evil win. Today, she lives quietly, rebuilding what was stolen. Her story proves that even in darkness, the human spirit finds light. Case 2. William Moldt, When Satellites Solve Mysteries. November 7, 1997. William Moldt, a 40-year-old mortgage broker, left a Florida nightclub and called his girlfriend. "I'll be home soon." He never arrived. For 22 years, his family searched desperately. Police investigated every lead. Theories emerged and faded. The trail went completely cold. Then, in August 2019, something extraordinary happened. A former resident was browsing Google Earth, looking at his old property. As he zoomed in on the retention pond, he noticed something strange beneath the murky water. The outline of a vehicle, visible from space but invisible on the ground. He contacted the current homeowner, who called police. Divers found a white 1994 Saturn sedan. Inside, skeletal remains. William Moldt. The reconstruction was heartbreaking. Moldt had likely been driving home that night, disoriented, and mistaken the unfenced pond for a road. The water swallowed his car whole. For over 2 decades he'd been there, yards from houses where families lived, oblivious to the tragedy beneath. The pond wasn't hidden. Neighbors had lived beside it for years, but murky water concealed what satellite technology, orbiting hundreds of miles above, finally revealed. The digital age gave his family closure in the most unexpected way. Case 3. Jaycee Dugard, 18 years in a backyard, June 10, 1991, South Lake Tahoe. 11-year-old Jaycee Dugard was walking to her bus stop when a car pulled alongside, a stun gun, screaming, darkness. For 18 years, Philip and Nancy Garrido kept her in a hidden compound behind their house, tents and sheds invisible from the street. Garrido raped her repeatedly. By 14, Jaycee gave birth, 15 when she had her second daughter. The girls knew her only as their older sister. They'd never been to school, never seen a doctor, never existed officially. Garrido homeschooled them with delusional religious rambling. Jaycee wasn't allowed her real name. She became Alyssa. The resolution came through persistence. In August 2009, Garrido, a registered sex offender, visited his parole officer with 2 girls and a woman he called his daughter. Something felt wrong. The girls seemed rehearsed. The woman looked terrified. Parole officer Allie Jacobs trusted her instincts. When Garrido brought Jaycee back for another meeting, Jacobs noticed her eyes. The fear beneath practiced calm. She separated Jaycee from Garrido and asked directly, "Who are you?" Jaycee's voice cracked. "I'm Jaycee Dugard." The name exploded through the system. Both Garridos received life sentences. Jaycee and her daughters began learning to live in a world they'd never known. Today, Jaycee is an author and advocate, transforming trauma into purpose. Case 4. Etan Patz, May 25, 1979. Soho, New York City. 6-year-old Etan Patz begged to walk to the school bus alone for the first time, 2 blocks. His mother hesitated, then agreed. She watched his blue captain's hat bob down the street. She never saw him again. The boy on the milk carton. Etan's disappearance changed America. His face appeared on milk cartons nationwide. one of the first missing children featured this way. May 25th became National Missing Children's Day. Parents everywhere tightened their grip, suspicious of every stranger. For 33 years, the case haunted investigators. Suspects came and went. The truth seemed lost forever. Then in 2012, Pedro Hernandez walked into a police station. Decades of guilt had broken him. Hernandez worked at a bodega on Etan's route. That May morning, he lured the boy into the basement with the promise of soda. Once downstairs, he strangled Etan, stuffed his body in a bag, and threw it in the trash. The remains were never found. Why? Hernandez couldn't say. He just did. A spontaneous act of evil that destroyed a family and changed a nation's sense of safety. Hernandez received life in prison in 2017. For Etan's parents, the resolution brought no peace, only confirmation of their worst fears. Case 5. Holly Marie Clouse, The Baby Left Behind. January 1981. A church in Arizona received mysterious visitors. 2 women in white robes from a nomadic religious group. They handed over a baby girl, barely a year old. Her parents had joined their community and couldn't care for her anymore, they explained. Then they vanished without a trace. The baby was adopted by a loving family who raised her as their own. They named her Holly. She grew up happy, completely unaware that her biological parents had been brutally murdered and dumped in a Texas forest months earlier. Tina and Harold Clouse were found in 1981, beaten to death. Their baby daughter was missing. Decades passed. The case went cold, then came genetic genealogy. In 2022, investigators used DNA from Tina and Harold to build a family tree, tracking descendants until they found her. Holly Marie Clouse, now in her 40s, living a completely normal life. When investigators approached her, Holly's world shattered and reformed. She learned her birth parents were killed. She learned she'd been handed to strangers by a cult. She also learned she had a family who'd spent 40 years wondering if she was alive. The reunion was tearful, overwhelming, beautiful. Holly met relatives who'd never stopped hoping. The cult members who killed her parents were never identified, but Holly was finally home. Case 6. Lori Erica Ruff, The Ghost with a Stolen Name. December 24, 2010. A woman named Lori Erica Ruff committed suicide, leaving behind a devastated husband and daughter. When her husband searched for family to notify, he discovered something impossible. Lori Erica Ruff didn't exist. Her birth certificate was fake. Her social security number belonged to a child who died in 1986. Every document was a carefully constructed lie. For years, investigators couldn't uncover who she really was. Then, in 2016, genetic genealogy cracked it. They traced her DNA to relatives in Pennsylvania. Kimberly McLean, who disappeared from home at 18 in 1986. Kimberly had grown up in a troubled household and decided to start over. She stole a deceased toddler's identity, created an entirely new life, and never looked back. For 24 years, she lived as Lori, married, had a child, and left her old identity behind like shed skin. Her husband was shattered. The woman he'd loved had been a stranger. Her Pennsylvania family learned she'd been alive all those years, but chose to stay gone. Sometimes, the greatest mysteries are self-inflicted. 6 disappearances, 6 resolutions. Each one proves that answers, however painful, are possible. Like, share, and subscribe for more Egg Talks. Until next time, stay curious. Goodbye.